Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Tennessee Fats and I'm coming to the library today because today we are finishing off part 3 of Robert E. Howard Battle Royale number 12. This is the conclusion point, people, and I'm pretty excited about this one. Now, for those of you who watched the first 2 parts of this series, they have gone long. Now there's a reason for that. It's because the Robert E. Howard material, quite frankly put, has been legendary. It's huge. Now, for those of you who watched part 1, you know I made a comment about how words like big and huge don't apply to Miata drivers, but that's not what we're going to talk about today. We're going to stick to the Robert E. Howard content itself because we got a lot to cover. This is what we're doing today. We're going to go through Hour of the Dragon and the Ablaze version today. Now, I've got the comic versions. I'll show you those as well, just so you see what the covers look like, but we are actually going to be going through this. Now, for those of you who have seen these videos before, you know what's going to happen. I'm going to go through this page by page. So, if you don't want to see what's inside this story, stop watching the video now. For those of you who actually stuck around, thank you very much. I'm sure we'll enjoy this. We're going to get the full content here of what I think happened in this story, and then we're going to go through the actual conclusion part, which is the big money part of this, is which one better fits the Robert E. Howard story. I want to get there, you want to get there, we're going to get there together. Let's do this. And we're back. Now, this is typically the point in time in the video where I say, hey, let's do some obligatory YouTubing, but we're not going to do that today. I think what we're going to do today is we're going to get right into the material because, quite frankly put, there's a lot to cover. And yes, you guys are going to see wounds on here. That is not me going out and being a barbarian. That's literally my house cat saying, Tennessee Fats, I'm taking you down. Lots of fun with that guy in the house. But that's not the point. So the Ablaze versions can vary drastically with regards to the art style you're going to get and the writing style you're going to get. And sometimes it's really, really good. If you watch some of the other prior Robert E. Howard Battle Royales, you've seen me comment on this very thing where I'm like, wow. There are other times where like, wow, for the wrong reason. Did you notice the tone difference there? I don't know if it's going to auto-translate well, but there's a tonal difference between those two things. But what they do when they send them out is they're playing the basically numbers game. So when these are being issued, they're coming out with multiple covers. And some people are completists, some people hate the multiple covers. I'm not going to get into that right now, but what I am going to do is show you the actual books and what they look like. So if you're out there looking for them, you know what they look like. And you know, okay, well, hold on, that cover looks different. Why does it look different? Well, now you know. So there's issue number 1. All right. Pretty cool cover there. You know, that's Zoltutin and that's Conan. Giant snake thing in the background. Kind of cool. That's nice. There's also cover number 1. This is a variant cover. Not quite sure what part of the story this is supposed to depict. Really, I'm not. But you know what? Whatever. It's a nice cover. There's issue number 1. Okay. The Virgin variant that doesn't have all the lettering on it. Okay. Yep. And oh, wait. Here's another one. Oh, there's issue number 1. Yeah. So when I'm saying there's multiple covers, I'm showing you guys these so you know. This is Zenobia, by the way. I know which part of the story this is supposed to represent. Doesn't quite fit, but whatever. Okay. Finally, we're getting edition number 2. Yes. It's a giant ape man from the Sea of Vayet. There is issue number 3. There's Conan with some giant snakes in the background. I know which part of the story this actually corresponds to, so this fits. And there's issue number 4. Now, you've seen a couple issues, or copies more correctly, of issue number 1. Only one copy of the other issues. Well, that's because I don't really buy all the various covers all the time. I'm not going to go down that road. I'd rather save my money for other things. So that's what they look like if you see them out there and you're trying to pick them up. Interesting that Ablaze on this decided to do it in 4 issues. Now, Ablaze does do things typically in a lower numerical sequence. So when they're doing a story, they're cutting it back. I know there's a reason why they do this. I don't know what the reason for that is. I just know because they're constantly doing it, this has to be part of their business model. Now, for a story this big, though, when I see it's being covered in only 4 issues, I, as the reader, am a Conanophile. I'm saying to myself, what am I going to get here? Yeah, let's just get into this and find out. Well, let's get right into what we are reviewing today. What we're reviewing today is actually out of the hardcover version. So Ablaze has done these wonderful jobs of putting out these beautiful hardcovers, which will contain 2 of their miniseries per collection. And they also actually contain, let me just show you this here if I can flip through it quickly. always when you say that is when it doesn't happen. Yeah, they actually do contain the original Robert E. Howard story in the back. So once you read the comic, if you want to read Robert E. Howard's original book, you can, because they include it. I think that's well done, guys. I do like that aspect. The other thing that comes out of these, again, not part of the Robert E. Howard Battle Royale, but I don't really, how do I say this? I don't really think this map is fantastic, but I think this is a really good Hyborian Age map. And what I like about this is how far south it goes. And the fact that it's kind of blown up. It's really zoomed in on the area in question. It's wonderfully labeled. You just need to read French to actually be able to get these mythical names translated to their mythical French names. Anywho, let's get right into this one, shall we? So this is the part where we go through it page by page, folks, so get ready for it. So the story opens up. You're in the capital of Numidia, and you have a whole lot of dialogue in here. Now, I believe, and this is a warning I'm going to give you guys up front, when we start to go through this, you're going to see a lot of dialogue in this particular Ablaze story, which is not something we've normally seen up until now from Ablaze. As a guy who's read all the Ablaze stuff, I can tell you there have been some that have been really, really skimpy on the verbiage. This one, not so much. Well, when you're trying to cover Robert E. Howard's largest written work, I can kind of understand why you're including all this verbiage. So the story starts off with these guys, basically the four conspirators. Now, we've already talked about the four conspirators in the other book, but they're the same ones, and they've at least named them correctly. Now, for consistency, what I'm going to do here, because I use these post-it notes in part 1 and in part 2, we're going to break them out here in part 3. So let's start going with these guys. So our four conspirators are, we don't necessarily get their names here, but we at least have a sense of four people. You got, we're just going to jump the gun, Tarascus, who's the current brother of the king of Numidia. You got Valerius, who is a member of the royal family of the prior king of Aquilonia, who's currently in exile, by the way. You got Amalric, who is a count within Numidia. And you got Orestes, who is a priest of Mitra who has fallen on, let's just say, dark times. He's dabbling in the dark arts here. So the scene opens up with our four people here meeting at the capital of Numidia, and they're talking about the fact that, you know, they're going to be bringing back somebody from the dead. They're jumping right into this one here. And they're saying, listen, we got this stone from, and the stone, by the way, is the heart of Ahriman. We got this stone from underneath the temple of Mitra. It led us to this guy's body. We're going to bring back Zalthutin, who is, by the way, the 3,000-year-old wizard slash former emperor of Python, which is the capital of Acheron. And we're going to bring him back with the stone. And they're basically going through the incantations. Now, this is where we get a really good point in the story, and this, I believe, is probably one of the better pages to actually showcase this. And what I'm talking about here is the level of art that went into this particular adaptation of the story. This is very much painted cover-esque type work. You see the detail, you see this beautiful work, and I've shot this in 4K for you guys so that you can you know, freeze it, you can zoom in if you want. Let me get my hands out of the shot for you so you can really zoom in, and you can get a sense of what's happening here. Look at the wrinkles that are painted on the hands, the detail, as you see the body of Zalthutin basically coming back from this decrepit piece of beef jerky with bones to a living being. It's really quite a thing, and I wanted to stop here to show that because I think it's this panel right here, a panel with no words, the sequence as it goes across actually, where you've got a panel with no words that really shows the action. You can tell based on the fact this guy's cape is blowing behind them, that wind is kicking up, that they're concerned, they're looking at this like, whoa, what is occurring? Really cool stuff. Anyways, so Zalthutin comes back, it's jumping pages, Zalthutin comes back to life and he starts talking. He says, I'm Zalthutin, and who are you? And this is where they introduce themselves as our four people. Because, you know, we really jumped into the story. I gave you guys the lead to let you know, but we really didn't know at that point in time. So they're subservient, they're bowing down to him, particularly Orestes. And they're saying, listen, you know, you're here and we know who you are. And he says, but are you really kings? Like, you wouldn't have brought me back, a 3,000-year-old priest of, you know, Acheron to solve a problem if you were really kings. And like, well, you know, an eye for an eye here sort of thing, but we brought you back to life and what we want you to do is give us the world. Kind of a big ask for giving somebody back their life, but this is how they word it. You're going to give us back the world. And he's like, well, you know, you gave me the heart of Ahriman. And there's really a tone here that the heart of Ahriman is the source of Zalthutin's power in this adaptation. They really are leaning into this, and they're going to lead more to this as the story goes on. And he says, well, okay, what's the problem? Is it a god that you're facing? Like, no, it's a guy. And then they get into the description of Conan. And then cut scene, boom. Numidia has effectively attacked Aquilonia. they're storming Norman over there, and they're talking as they're about to attack, and they're saying, listen, we're going to attack, and they're saying, of course, the other conspirators are saying, well, we don't quite have the men. And he's like, no, everything's going to be fine. By the time we're done here, the entire army of Aquilonia is going to be destroyed. So they kind of jumped here. They've made the point, and the dialogue here talks to the point of, okay, listen, Tarascus, I caused the plague, I killed your brother, I gave you your kingdom. Now you're going to be able to take this one, and this is going to basically saying I'm fulfilling what you guys needed from me, which is kind of funny because at this point in time he actually didn't need to. They brought him back to life. He's got his little fancy stone. He's good to go. I don't know why he did this, and it kind of leads into a little bit of the story later as to the fact that he's sort of manipulating them, but we'll get there. Anyways, cut scene, Conan's in his tent. He mentions the fact that he had a bad dream. He's talking to his buddy, and he's like, no, you don't need to worry about it. It's a good omen that you actually dream of your death or other people's death. And he's like, yeah, whatever, I don't care. Go get the men. I'm going to put on my armor. And that's basically it. He doesn't really speak to, I guess, what the nature of that portent was, what the nature of that bad dream was. He kind of alludes to it a little bit, like it being dark, but that's it. Anyways, you see a voice or a face sort of kind of appearing behind him, and then it talks to him, scares the living crap out of him. And he says, well, I am this, and I'm going to murder you. And he's like, I don't fear you, demon. It's funny because I don't know what physically happens here, because Conan seems to be going full on into an attack here. And then the guy says, fear? By the way, this is Zoltutun, in case you're curious. And then you see him just blacking on down. He's falling backwards. He's like, no, I'm going to give you terror. I'm going to make you beg. You're going to see your army die. And then, when you're done, then we'll talk. And then he just disappears. And of course, the guys come in and recognize that Conan is paralyzed. And he's paralyzed, and he's talking about his armor. So, that's not a good situation. And then we cut to, the battle's happening. Because you kind of get a sense here that, Conan was going to lead his army. That's why he was kind of, going for his armor. Well, the battle's happening. And there's Conan's armor. And he's saying, don't worry about it. It'll be fine. Get your men to attack. Everything will be fine. And they're like, and you see this guy yelling for Crom. Okay, well, that's clearly Conan. What happened here? And then you got this beautiful cross scene here of the battle. I believe these are the Aquilonians, and they are attacking into the Nemedians over here. Anyways, they storm on down there to attack. They are shooting arrows. They basically start destroying the Nemedian forces. And the people up here are saying, Conan, I thought you said he was dead. What's going on here? And he's leading them. And he's like, we got to get our guys to feet. He's like, no. You let them continue to fight. And they're like, no. If we have to fall back in the canyon, we're done. It's like, no. Trust me. Let them fight. Let them go back in the canyon. It'll be their graves. And then he casts a spell, which causes basically the canyon to come crumbling down and crush the Nemedian army. And then you see, I guess this is soldiers that work for Tarascus coming along, and they find Conan's armor, and they say, it's not Conan. This is where you as the reader go, Conan wasn't in that armor. And Tarascus goes storming over to Conan's tent and says, no, Conan, I know you're in there. Come on out. It's time for us to negotiate the terms of your surrender. And they start dictating terms through a squire. Conan's not taking any, but he shoots an arrow through the guy. So how he got back up, I don't know, because we don't really have a sense of how badly he was hurt. Anyways, and they're saying, well, we're just going to go ahead and we're just going to shoot you. And he's like, no, come and face me. They're about to shoot him. And Zoltutun comes in and says, no, you don't kill him. He's mine. Knocks him out and takes him off because Acheron will need soldiers. That's the statement he makes. Acheron will need soldiers. Not Nemedia or Aquilonia. Acheron. Interesting. You get back to the capital of Nemedia at this point in time, and Tarascus is saying to him, okay, I don't understand why you brought him back alive. Zoltutun basically is just shooting him down and saying, listen, you keep him alive, and I had to come back here because I needed to rest, because that amount of magic I just threw down was pretty epic. So I got some rest time. You're going to keep him alive and safe. End of conversation. And this little vignette is Zenobia going, ho, ho, ho. And the king of Aquilonia is here. Ha, ha, ha. That's going to lead somewhere. And you see Conan tied up in a dungeon. Conan's in the dungeon. Zenobia comes to the top, and she's like, I can't really help you, and they would kill me if they found out I was here. But here's a sword. He's like, no, who are you? And she's gone. That's it. She's gone. And she says, go out of the cell and go east. Well, he's roped up now. And then you see an old guy coming in through an open door. And he's saying, no, trust me. You don't want to go there. There's a beast out there. You want to stay here. And Conan says, whatever. I've faced all sorts of beasts. Trust me. The beast isn't going to be the last thing I see. I'm going to be the last thing it sees. Bam! There's a statement, I got to tell you. And then he starts wandering off, basically going east. And here comes the giant ape from the Sea of Vayet. And there is an epic battle. And this is kind of interesting. Conan, look at the size. Let's just talk for a second here and look at the scope. The difference in size here. Where's a good image? Here. Here's a good image right here. Look at the difference in size here. Conan's body is the size of its face. Now, granted, his legs are curved here, but that would infer that its face, with its jaw open, is around 5 feet. So is this thing then like 45 or 50 feet? That's fairly material in size difference. And Conan charges this thing and stabs it in its chest, digs his blade in as far as it can go, and the monkey grabs basically his arms and is going to kill him. And Conan mouths off and says, "Look at me, you beast. I am the last thing that you see." And this, I guess, is, you see his feet here and this blood splatter here? I think this is him taking the knife that he had here, which was kind of sticking out, and really kicking it in, at which point in time, I guess the beast just dies. I guess this beast's heart, for some reason, is closer to its shoulder over here. Strange. Really strange. But anyways, he kills the beast. Heads on out, meets with Zenobia, who's got a torch, and she's meeting him. Says, "Oh, by the way, my name is Zenobia." That's kind of an important thing. And she goes, "Keep going, and, you know, you can get out of here." He says, "Oh, don't worry about it. I'll come back for you, though, because, you know what, my kingdom needs a queen." That was kind of a weird statement for somebody who we just met. Anyways, Tarascus finds out that he's gone, and says, "Well, find everybody, or get everybody and go kill him. But, you know, torch everybody who might give him harbor. But don't tell anybody he's gone." Well, it's kind of hard to go out and search for somebody and demand that, you know, are you giving this guy safe harbor, or safe passage, without saying who that guy is? Those were strange instructions to me. But then he goes off to see Zalthuzen, who, as we know, is recovering because he spent so much magic. Goes into his quarters and sees that he's not there, and there's the fancy stone, the Art of Ahriman, and he walks over to touch it. Bam! Giant snake thing appears out of nowhere, and he appears right behind him. He's like, "Yeah, you were so predictable. I totally knew you were going to try to take this, because this is the source of my power, and you would never trust something that important to you to even your best friends. Oh, and by the way, this is all sorts of crazy set magic, and it would take a really high priest of set to even touch this, or even try to do it. So don't even try it." And he says, "And how could you possibly let him go? I've heard the guards." And he's like, "What the hell is the matter with me? What do you do for me?" And then he sends off all these weird mutant crows with like 6 eyes. That was weird. I don't get that at all. Anyways, you get a cutscene here, and you see basically a farm being torched. I don't know why the farm was being torched. I'm assuming this is because, you know, the Nemedian soldiers are torching random farms, assuming they're giving safe passage to Conan, without saying who Conan is, because they can't let anybody know that Conan's escaped. Kind of weird. And Conan's brooding by a fire. This is how I like my Conan, by the way. I always like my Conan sitting brooding by a fire. Typically, I also like him surrounded by bird people, and I like him to be really gritty. And you got 2 of the 3 right here. And the birds were on the next page, so we were getting really close to the type of Conan that I think is the best type of Conan. Anyways, the crows then come and attack him, and suddenly this person appears out of nowhere and says enough, and the crows just disappear. And he's like, "Whoa, what kind of magic is this?" And this is where I meet Zalata, who is a witch, who is good, and says, "Conan, this isn't just about you. I know who you are, and, you know, bad things are happening here, and this is about something much more epic than just your life, and that's why I'm going to help you." And you see the size of this giant wolf with it, which is pretty cool. I'd like to see this wolf do some cool things in the story. And he says, "I can't see, but you know what I can do? I can show you what's coming." And bam, he gets this vision. It's like, oh, this is not going well. And he's not happy about this. And there's that giant snake thing that we saw on the cover of that one issue. Really creepy. And she says, "But you need to go, and you need to find the heart of your city. You need to find the heart of your empire." And that's all I can tell you. Now, F off. So Conan F's off and basically heads back to his capital. Now, we get a cutscene here, and we see the guys sitting around talking. And they're chatting about the fact that really, they're somewhat concerned about Zoltwood. They're saying, well, we've got our kingdoms now, and Conan's supporters who are loyal to him have kind of heard that he's alive, and this could go poorly, and maybe we should go attack Ophir now, because you know what, it's a smaller kingdom, and we should do that. And the guys are saying, well, no, maybe what we should do at this point in time is we should deal with the Zalthuzen issue. Maybe we should deal with the fact that this guy's too powerful, he doesn't need us anymore. And the 4 of them are talking, and then Tarascus says, no, you guys are idiots. Listen, I already tried to grab that damn thing, and it's crazy serpent set protected. You don't want to go near it, and we don't even know if there's a wizard on the planet powerful enough to get that. And the rest is like, well, no, dude. And then you see this guy coming through the wall, buck naked, walking up to the stone with all sorts of crazy green. Crazy green that is dangerously similar to what we just saw on that set sort of thing that fired off. So who is this guy? We don't know. Pretty weird, but he's walking up to that stone. Cut scene back to Conan, who's made his way to the capital, and he's talking to his friend Servius, who, guess what, runs a bar, who's appropriately named Servius. And he says, you know, what's going on? Tell me what's happening. And Servius is telling him, like, this is what's going on in the kingdom, and by the way, the Countess has just been arrested. And Conan's like, well, what's going on with my people? Like, are they good? And he's like, I don't know, it's going on pretty badly for us. And everybody's hung out in this iron citadel right now. Everybody's in town. And Conan's like, no, this is much bigger than just me and those guys. But you know what? I will go kill those guys. And he says, oh, by the way, what do you think the heart of the kingdom is? And he's like, oh, no, it's totally you. Conan's like, all right. Anyways, Conan goes and breaks into the citadel and decides to randomly kill people, because this is how he solves problem. The guys are saying, you know, I really can't get over the fact that Conan's got away, and this is bad. And, you know, he's just going to get his supporters running up and running. How are we going to handle this? And Conan misses. Tisk, tisk, tisk. Could have taken him right there. Missed. Didn't slow your breathing. Anyways, they say, oh crap, it's him, go get him, and he sends out the guards. And Conan tries to tell the guys, listen, I'm here to kill your masters, not you. There's no sense in dying here, just go home to your families, but they don't. So he slaughters them. And things, I guess, are getting rather hectic, because you see he's now covered in blood, and more people are arriving. One of them carrying a trident, which is a very strange melee weapon for me to picture somebody carrying around, especially in close quarters combat like we were looking at here. Anyways, arrows suddenly start flying in, and they're saying, Conan, you need to come with us, get over the ropes, we'll rescue the Countess for you, we're your friends, this is not the way to do things, let's go. And Conan's like, but I don't really want to go, and he's mouthing off at them. And this is where we get Hadrathus being the other guy that's introduced at this point in time. He says, no, dude, listen to me, this is bigger than you. And he's actually now telling Conan what Zalata already told Conan, and it's starting to ring true with him. He's like, the guy that you were fighting, or that you met, this wizard guy, this Zoltuthan guy, he's from Acheron. This is bad news bears. And here's a coin that shows this guy's face. This is clearly the guy that you're talking about. He's like, no, this is the demon of Alkin. He's like, no, dude, this is Zoltuthan. Like, this is bad. This is the first time that the heart of Acheron has ever brought its prior user back to life to actually finish the job. This is not good. What you need to do is go get it, because, you know, it's not actually there right now. We know where it is. You need to get that, and using its power, we can destroy Zoltuthan. And he's like, oh, okay. All right, I'm good with that. And then the guys are chatting again. And they're like, okay, so what do we do about this whole Conan thing? And Orestes is like, well, guys, I could try to do something here. And we could try to get that stone. And this is where Zoltuthan comes out of nowhere and basically pulls this guy's heart out of his back, as you can see here. It says, okay, how is it I can't trust you idiots? You had one job, which was keep Conan alive and keep him safe. Now he's gone. And now one of you has stolen my heart. And he's like, I want this, because he's not having a good day at this point in time. Discovering the heart is missing has made him not a happy camper. And they're like, so Orestes, by the way, dead. He's gone. So you got Valerius and Tarascus at this point in time. They're like, well, we don't have it. I really don't. But you know what? I'll get them for you on one condition. This is actually quite ballsy. I actually like this part of the story a lot. He's like, a condition? He's like, me ripping the hearts out of your chests is not enough. Like, what is it? You're seriously giving me a condition? And he's like, no. I'm the king now, and I'm going to stay the king. And I have the ability to do this because, you know what, these dark dwellers in Cathay owe me a favor, and they'll totally get what you need. So you're going to guarantee this. I'll get it, but you're going to just keep me as it is. And that's the end of the conversation, right? Very ballsy. I got to tell you, thumbs up, dude. This was well played. Now, the question I ask myself, though, is, if these guys are this powerful to begin with, why didn't you just use them to do all of this work? I don't know. It seems strange to me. I'm going to put them up here. They're now a main player in this story. So you have Valerius heading off and basically making some sort of magic incantation, which is very Lord of the Rings, because this ring binds them. And he puts blood on the ring, and they just appear out of nowhere. And he's like, okay, here's the deal. You're going to go get Conan's heart. Then you're going to get me the heart of Ahriman. And then I'm going to release you from the power of the ring. Okay, very, very Tolkien-esque there. I'm like, okay, and they're like, hey, no problem, we'll go do that. Sure. I like that. I like that quick response. It was really nice. Anyways, Conan heads south, and because he's been told by Hadrathus where the stone is, and heads straight down to visit his good old buddy in Messantia, Publio. He basically busts into his place, and he's talking about, as he gets there, you know, this is one of these places I swore I'd never get back to or come back to, yet here I am. Anyways, I gotta do it, so here, let's go visit my friend Publio. He visits Publio and says, listen, I'm looking for a priest of Set. And he's like, yeah, priest of Set. I know that guy. Yeah. He headed out of town, but I don't know when. You might want to head down by the harbor and find out. which was kind of a nice dialogue. And Conan heads down by the harbor, and he meets an old guy, and he's like, oh yeah, I know these Stygians. Yeah, I just headed out like 3 days ago. I was heading south. And just as he's having the conversation, the Catayans appear out of nowhere. And old guy, of course, he takes off over here. Very smart. Smart move, old man. You just run away over there, because Catayans, when they show up with crazy sticks and fancy hats, not to be messed with. And they come at Conan, and Conan's like, okay, so did Publio sent you that SOB? He's like, wait a minute. Who are you? Why do your voices not even sound human? And as he's stepping backwards towards the edge of this cliff, he falls off and ends up in the water. And it's interesting that they say at this point in time, go, Conan, find us the heart. So, interesting that they already had the foresight to say, you know, if we let him go here, he's going to take us to the heart of Ahriman. Because we know he's after it anyways. But the fact that they knew he was going to survive this. Weird. But you know what? It gives more to their mythos, so 2 points for them. Anyways, he wakes up and he's on a ship. And it's an Argosian galley. That's what the actual phrase for it. And there's a whole bunch of people who are rowing, and he immediately recognizes a whole bunch of his guys from when he was back being Amra. And they're like, hey, it's Amra. And he's like, yeah, I'm Amra. What's going on? Where are we going? And they kind of have a quick chat about it, and they say, you know, years have gone by since you were with us, and we're not free anymore. We row for our lives. And suddenly somebody comes along whipping. And Conan is not going to do well with this. Mouths off immediately the guy who's the actual runner of this ship, the captain. And he says, no, you're not my master. And he chokes him a bit, drops him, pulls out a sword, and then he says to his buddies, he says, oh, by the way, who am I? And he starts really chanting this to really get them really cranked, because he's given them the keys to get them out of their stuff now. And effectively, you have a massacre. These slaves who have been rowing basically kill everybody, and then the other people who don't get killed jump off the ship. And he says, well, you know what, we're going to head south now. And we cut scene to the fact where he's kind of brooding as they're heading south, and he's like, you know, guys, as much as I love you guys, I'm not Amra anymore, and I'm sad because now I'm a king, and, you know, I have responsibilities, and, you know, you could feel the weight of the responsibilities weighing down on me. He says, so we're going to go to Kamei, and I'm going to head in there, but you guys are going to be on your own, and you're just going to go continue doing your pirating thing on your own, because I'm a king now. Yeah, now that's like a boss. I like that. Anyways, he just goes right into the port, walks off the ship, heads into town. This is getting a little strange. From what I know of Stygio, foreigners do not just walk into town. Don't get it. Anyways, he finds himself a group of these priests that are wandering along and starts following them. And follows them into a temple. This is him being all beefy. So he's like, hey, look at my six-pack. This is my card to get in. Oh, and by the way, boob alert, because you're going to get some in here. Anyways, he goes wandering and he starts hearing somebody calling his name. Now, this is an interesting aspect of Ablaze. I give him 2 points for this. Have you noticed how all the really powerful bad guys so far, the Catayans and Zoltutan, all get to talk with black text boxes with white lettering? But the rest of the folks that are like, you know, people get white boxes with black lettering? I think this is a good delineation for us as a reader. I like that. Anyways, people start calling Conan. He's like, what the frig is going on? And he's like, who are you? And this woman appears out of nowhere. A woman who he really doesn't know who it is. And she says, why are you here? And he's like, well, I'm here to get Zolt, to get Thuthothmes. There you go. I had to get that word out. Thuthothmes, yeah. Who he's found out from Hadrathis is the guy who actually has the stone. And she's like, oh yeah, no problem. We've been waiting for you, in fact, because, you know, this is going to be pretty cool. By the way, don't talk to me that way, though, because, you know, I'm an immortal. Okay, well, now we're getting a sense this is somebody that's not to be messed with. And they lead him off, to basically Thuthothmes. And this is where she comes walking and says, Thuthothmes, look who I found. It's Conan. And she's like, and again, name is now given. Akivasha. I'm going to put it over here. No, over here. We got a lot of names. Let's go in there. Akivasha, my queen. Oh, thank goodness Conan is here. He's going to be here to see us actually bring people back to life and start me being the guy who's going to take over. Because, you know, Thothamon couldn't do it, but look at me. I'm over here. I got the stone. Thumbs up. And you have a clear sense that these two are stupping. We have a Conan story where Conan is not stupping. Weird. Anyways, he's talking about how he's going to bring back all these people to life, and, you know, the heart of Ahriman is going to work for him. And suddenly this spear knife thing comes diving out of nowhere, and Akivasha says Thuthothmes and dives in the way, and she just disappears into nothing. And he's like, Akivasha, no. Yeah, he's not happy about this. And then he turns around and he says, what the heck is going on here? And these guys come over here and says, the Cimmerian is yours, but the heart we want. And he's like, Catayans? What the and who's, what? Who? And they're like, the ring. And he's like, what ring? What are you talking? He's like, that's it. I am murdering you guys. And out of nowhere, this massive brawl takes in. Now, bear in mind, Conan was standing in the middle of this brawl, but somehow we get a sense that he has just sort of sidestepped this mess. while everybody's, poking with sticks and getting turned into stone or is killing Catans, there are things going on here. This is kind of really weird. And Conan's like, oh, these are branches from the Tree of Life now. I don't know where that reference came from. I really don't. I'm supposed to understand the Tree of Life turns people into stone? That doesn't sound like a Tree of Life kind of thing to me. It sounds like a Tree of Stone kind of thing to me, whatever. Anyways, so Thutothomes now is up to the point where he's like, listen, what name do you want me to put on your grave? And the Catan just says, you can put whatever name you want, and I'm not going to be here. And then he walks up to grab the stone, and Conan, because everybody kind of forgot Conan was there, comes out of nowhere and basically from behind slices his head off. And his head falls into the casket where the mummy was, where the stone was. And he says, well, I don't know what the heck is with this crazy heart of Ahriman, but whatever kingdom it led, it ain't going to be my kingdom. It ain't my heart, so to heck with it. So Akivasha, gone. Over here with the Orestes pal. Thutothomes, gone. Over here. Publio? Well, we don't know what the hell happened to him, but he's still hanging around. Anyways, he burns the body, and we have a sense now that he is back with his people. And he mentions that, it's been quite some time, 2 months since I came back from Kimi. Why are we waiting? And Zalata is there, and she's coaching him and saying, no, we need to prove that you're winning back your kingdom. You can't just kill these guys and just be out with it. You got to prove that you are the heart of the kingdom. It's you that are the heart of the kingdom. The heart of Ahriman is just a tool that Zaltutin uses, and we're going to use it to destroy him, but you need to win this back. And this is where Hadrathis and Zalata say, listen, we're going to go deal with Zaltutin with the stone. And he's like, so is this goodbye then? I'm getting the sense that I'm not going to see you anymore. And she's like, yeah, well, the hour of dragon's coming to an end, so the hour of the lion belongs to you, so this is our final goodbye. All right, I'm getting some sense of timing, tone, what have you. And then we cut over to Tarascus this is Tarascus and Amalric, who are saying, I can't believe this is the kingdom that we were looking for. Look, like we got giant trees that are covered in bodies that have been sacrificed by Zaltotin just to keep his power. This is not going well. What should we do about this? And he's like, listen, at the end of the day, we just do what we do. We'll deal with them afterwards, and not knowing that a crazy six-eyed crow is in the whole conversation. And they come back, and the guy comes up and over and says, oh, by the way, bad news, Valerius is dead because he was led into a trap by the people of Aquilonia, and him and 5,000 people are gone. So you're not gone. Put you over here with the Orestes pal. And these two say, okay, listen, we're attacking now. We've just lost 5,000 men. We got to go attack this mess right now. And go tell Zaltutin to just make whatever magic happen. We'll name his price and we'll do it. And off they go. So now we get a cutscene to Zaltutin's sort of tent. Look, there's more trees made out of bodies. And a soldier shows up and he's like, yeah, like, he's about to tell Zaltutin, like, you got to do your thing. And Zaltutin's like, yeah, I know the guys think I can't do it, but look at all these bodies I've killed. Like, trust me, I still got the power, and I'll get to it when I'm damn good and ready. And by the way, I think it's over here. Send the next body. He's like, just drop it over there. He's trying to talk to his servants, but little does he realize that Hadrathis and Zalata have appeared, and they're like, he's like, you guys are wimps. You're nothing compared to me. Like, oh yeah, well, we're going to destroy you with this. And they whip out the stone. He's like, the witch, no. And you see the stone really being what destroys Zaltutin here. You see a blast in the tent, and this is the last we see of Zaltutin. I'm going to put these over here, because I don't think we see them again either. Anyways, the blast occurs, you see the giant explosion. Nobody really knows what this is. Conan, I think, kind of has an idea, because he was waiting for this, and he goes, okay, now we attack. So they head down, they attack, and because the spell that Zaltutin was supposed to do was that when these guys went across the ice, it would break and they would drown. That's what they were told to do. And these guys are saying, hold your positions, because the ice is going to break, and the ice doesn't break. They ride right through it, and they just destroy their men. And Tarascus and Amalric, to their credit, at this point in time, are willing to fight. They are out there ready to fight. And it's interesting that Amalric basically calls out to Palantides, who's, as a Cononophile, you know who that is. And they get into a fight, and unfortunately Amalric is on the losing end of that. And Tarascus is like, okay, that's not good. Amalric is dead. And Conan comes at him, and they say, okay, well, this is going to be a king versus a king. And Conan really cuts him down. He basically, which is a brutal move, slices the horse out from underneath him, clearly a barbarian move, and says, this isn't a battle of king to king, idiot. There's only one king here. That's me. And he's like, now, here's the deal. I could kill you, but I'm not going to. All of your soldiers, if they want to stay here, can stay here. That's not a problem. They can live here. No more fighting. I'm going to ransom you back. By the way, you've got this lady named Zenobia back in as a handmaid where you are. I want her to be my queen. And then you cut scene, and there's Conan and Zenobia. And they say, he's basically referring back to his own ancestors saying, well, you know me now. I know why I'm a king. And this is really a coming of age story when you get the story coming back this way, where Conan now has become the king that he was meant to be. And maybe the Ablaze version's take on this is at the beginning, he didn't have that sense of who he was. I wonder if that was what their take was on. Anyways, that's the story. Let's get back now and wrap this one up so we can get to our final conclusion time, because it's time to finish this one off. All right, it's epic conclusion time. Okay, we are back and we are done going through all of these. Now, in part one, what we did was I walked through the big book of Conan here and I said, here's what happened in Heart of the Dragon. Now, that was a long video. Obviously, I've already commented on this many times. You guys know why it was long. It was long because it was a long story. But we went through all the characters and we got a good sense of what the story was. In part two, what I did was I went through the Marvel editions. And the Marvel editions were in giant size Conan number 1 through 4, Savage Sword of Conan number 8 as a little vignette story, and then Savage Sword of Conan number 10 as a full issue. And in this video, the one today, we just went through the Hour of the Dragon, the Ablaze versions. Now, that was 4 issues of a modern comic. Now, conclusion time. This is the big moment we've been waiting for. It's time for us to actually get to which one of these hits Robert E. Howard better. Okay, that's the point of this series. It's not which one do I, Tennessee Fast, like more. It's not which one has fancier art. It's not which one has more boobs in it. No, it's which one hits the actual Robert E. Howard story better. That's what we do here. Okay, so that's what we're gonna go with. So the Marvel edition. Let's compare and contrast its art with the Ablaze version. Let's start with the art. Okay, because Robert E. Howard, when he was writing, and I think most of us who read that stuff have a particular image in our head of what this world looks like, which is strange. It's unique to all of us, but there are common themes that are suggested through Robert E. Howard's writing. So, the Marvel edition. Well, it started off with Gil Kane doing a lot of that. And Gil Kane has a very crisp and clean artistic style, which is actually very reminiscent of the way Barry Windsor Smith did it when he started Conan for Marvel way back in the day. And that style, well, it does very well for superheroes. Do I think this actually fits what Robert E. Howard was picturing with Conan, though? I'm not sure. I really am not sure. Like, Conan to me, especially older King Conan, to me reads like a gritty, sort of a dark tale of intrigue and twisting in a world that's basically dirty. You're surrounded by grit. Like, the walls would feel like sandpaper, the floors would feel like spikes. This is a world that's got texture to it. And this is what we read when we read Robert E. Howard. We read, obviously, these massive structures and these cyclopean worlds and cities. But we always have a sense of this dark, gritty nature. Did Gil Kane hit that? I don't think he did. The end, though, where he gets to the Buscema art, which was in Savage Sword Conan number 10, that hits it perfectly. And I think that matches what Robert E. Howard is going for. Now, the Ablaze version. Well, I made a comment earlier. I think the art in that is stunning. Absolutely stunning. I think it's beautiful. I think what Ablaze did when they hired the artist on this one was they nailed it. That catches the feel of what this story is 100% to me. And it catches it all the way through it. Unfortunately, it doesn't match it in the writing. Because that's the other aspect of this. Which one writes this to Robert E. Howard? Well, neither of them really did. Marvel did the best, though. Marvel, when you look at it, their story was very much so of including all the characters, of including the actual story as it progresses, as Robert E. Howard wrote it out, with a couple little additions and vignettes in there. The vignettes are things that I know why they were put in there, like, for example, being tested by Hadrathis, being tested again by the Count in the South as to whether he was a legitimate member of the Red Brotherhood through combat. I understand why those were there, because Conan has to go through conflict. When you're reading a Conan book, you're not reading it for the intellectual dialogue of Conan, you're reading it for the adventure, and Marvel knows that. That's why they included it. It's just a shame, because it added to what was already an epic story that was too long to begin with. Ablaze. Well, Ablaze only had 4 issues, okay? But what they cut out of this thing was huge. The stuff that they took out was massive, making Akivasha an actual queen to Thutothomes. Why? I think what Ablaze was doing there was they were trying to turn the story into one of Conan really coming of age as a king. He was going from basically saying, okay, I'm the king and, I'll go into battle, because you don't really have much of the story about King Conan up until that point in time in their version. First time you see him is he's literally in his tent getting ready to go to battle. You don't have a sense of what he's like as a king. You don't get it. But what they're writing to is him becoming the heart of his kingdom. The heart of Ahriman is sort of a red herring. They're writing to it as the heart of Ahriman was really the source of Zoltuthn's power, which just needed to be used to destroy him. Ignoring the fact that Zoltuthn was powerful enough in and of his own abilities because he was going to cast that massive spell at the end of it to destroy the ice in the river without even having the heart of Ahriman. It just didn't make sense. And yes, they made this sort of this coming of age story, but was that really something that was needed for Conan? I don't think so. I don't think Robert E. Howard intended this to be well, he did to an extent because he was having Conan constantly reflect back on his youth, but he wasn't trying to say, let's make it 100% a coming of age story because Conan knows why he deserves his kingdom. It's a weird thing. I know why they sort of changed the story. Obviously, you had a page count issue. Did you need to change that aspect of the story to get down to that page count issue? I don't think you did. I really don't. But again, this is personal opinion that's just going into pure conjecture. At the end of the day, what's blatantly clear through our reviews here, going through page by page of all these comics, is that Marvel takes this hands down. It is the one that is more closely related to Robert E. Howard's original content than Ablaze. It's fascinating to me that a 40-year-old Marvel comic beat almost a new production. It blows my mind that the tried and true old comic won out over this as far as Robert E. Howard content goes. It's just strange because Ablaze actually says, no, we give you the comics as Robert E. Howard intended, uncensored, blah, 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 blah. Well, no, you might give it to me uncensored, but if you don't give me the Robert E. Howard story, then you're not actually giving it to me how Robert E. Howard intended. And on this one, we're kind of off. Which is a shame, because on other things, they've been 100% bang on. Is it a great story? Absolutely. 100%. I think it was a fantastic retelling of something similar to Robert E. Howard's story, but it definitely was not Robert E. Howard's story. Weird. After all that work, we get to it, and it's clearly Marvel. Well, that's just the way it rolls. All right, let's wrap this one up. Okay, everybody, that is the end of part 3 of Robert E. Howard Battle Royale number 12. Now, I don't mind telling you guys honestly, now that this is over, this particular 3-parter scared the living crap out of me. Honestly, the amount of content that was going to be covered in this was just, it literally made me terrified to do this. And the whole point of these videos for me is to have fun. Honestly, it is. So when I was looking at something that wasn't fun, it just made you sort of sit back and go, why? I don't know. It's just one of those things where you say, why would I even do that? But doing it in 3 parts was really the way to break this one up, and I'm glad I got that suggestion and that I did that. Now, interesting thing that happened over the last week was Titan Comics Free Comic Book Day came out, and I decided to do something different, sort of impromptu last week, and I actually put up 2 videos last weekend, where I normally only do 1 a weekend. And it's where I did a quick review of this, the whole Titan Comics thing. And I tell you, I am so glad I did. And this is really one of those moments where I want to say thank you to you guys. I have had a phenomenal time shooting these videos and dialoguing with you guys online and typing with you. And some of you have taken the time to email me, and I really appreciate that too. Honestly, you've taken the time to actually reach out and contact me and just say hi. You could do it in comments or the email, your choice. But I tell you, I find that fascinating and wonderfully rewarding because I'm a Conanophile, and I use the word Conanophile, but honestly, I'm a Howardian. I like Robert E. Howard, okay, and that is a thing for me. I like the majority of the stuff that I've read that he's done. I'm going through the Cull stuff right now in written format because I've only ever previously read that in comic format, and honestly, reading that is giving me so much more appreciation for that character. But doing these discussions in this medium is giving me so much more appreciation for the fact that I'm not alone. And let that sink in for a second. All of you, if you're a Conanophile or you like Robert E. Howard stuff or you like sword and sorcery stuff, and really take this moment and stop for a second and recognize you're not alone. You're not. When I released this video for this thing over here, suddenly my channel popped a bit. Listen, I would never say my channel has exploded. This is a video channel of me rambling, and people have a hard time listening to me rambling at the best of times, okay? So I can't picture it just being perpetually running forever and people loving it. So when it popped a little, it was kind of funny because it made me suddenly recognize there are more of us out there than I thought. Really. There are more of us. And it's interesting. Titan doing this new launch is kind of bringing us up through the woodwork. It's suddenly making us, I don't know, what would be the word, irrelevant? It's suddenly making us something that's a demographic. It's suddenly making us something that people want to market to, which makes real business sense. But it also tells us that the publishers and basically the mass media out there is recognizing that we're actually a demographic. We're a group. We're a people. And we're not alone. And we can talk to one another. It's fascinating. And when that popped a little, it made me step back and go, holy crap, there's more of us. So for those of you who have stuck with me since the beginning, and I really do appreciate you, and I want to say thank you to you, because you've been here with me, basically convincing me to stick my way through this and continuing to do this. And that I honestly do appreciate. And I can't thank you enough for doing that. For those of you who are now finding the channel, who are taking the time to actually talk to me and have conversations with me online, thank you. This is really a thing. We're community building. And it's funny because I know YouTube and social media gets a hell of a lot of shit when you look at what's going on out there in the world right now and people coming up with all sorts of anxiety issues and what have you. But this is one of the forms and one of the examples of it working well. A group of us that are global, literally global. I have people auto-translating this stuff in Italian, all right? Globally watching these videos, and we're all like-minded. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I find that phenomenally rewarding. And it's not like I look around for outside sources of validation all the time, but this one coming in just out of the blue, wow, that was a lot of fun. So everybody, no obligatory YouTubing this one. I just want you to know that I appreciate you and I thank you for watching these videos. Feel free to comment. You don't have to like or subscribe. I'm not doing any of that crap today. Feel free to just understand that you're not alone and it's okay to like this stuff. Everybody, have yourself a great day. We'll see you in the next video.